Let's take a look at part two questions on our practice quiz. Using our little quick reference guide, hopefully you'll be able to identify the errors with punctuation marks and determine where the right answer would be. Starting with number one, to guarantee her passing the final exam, Elizabeth can either bribe Marsh with coffee or Chinese food. This is our correlative split, the either or. And you'll notice how the word or never moves. So I'm adjusting the word either. In the original sentence, or is in front of Chinese food, but either is in front of the verb bribe. So if or is going to be in front of a noun, either has to be in front of a noun. And that's why C is the best choice. We're going to bribe Marsh with either coffee or Chinese food. On number two, Mr. Sloss showed us his coveted endangered species ties, an impressive collection. Well, here's a semicolon, and a semicolon has to have a full sentence both in front and behind. And this is not a full sentence after the semicolon. That's why I chose C. It's a full sentence, but I never capitalize after a semicolon. So C is my answer. On number three, without much sleep last night, Weston looked tired and bored and miserable all first period. It sounds like it wants to be a polysedenton where I have an and in between each word, but you don't have an and the comma between each word. So that's not right. And then I didn't give another option for a polysedenton. So when I look at my choices down here, I like the B choice. It has the Oxford or the Harvard or the serial comma after the word bored. C doesn't, and that's always incorrect. It's got to be B. Number four, only one thing would pacify Mr. Heiser when he flew into a rage about college fight songs: a jelly donut. Well, we know a colon has to be a full sentence in front, but it doesn't matter what follows it as long as it's capitalized or not capitalized correctly. And that's why A is correct. It's a full sentence in front, and then I'm renaming what would pacify him a jelly donut. And I'm going to keep that A lowercase because it's not a full sentence. Number five, we talked about combining sentences. So which of the following is the most effective way to combine the following sentences? What that means is there are some that are correct. They're correctly, they're combined, but that's not the most effective way. So when I write, Hunter finished the school year with a 16-day streak of festive sweaters. His collection of festive sweaters furthered the legitimacy of his reputation as a fashionista. Remember, when we're trying to combine sentences, we're paying attention to when I'm repeating words. And I'm repeating this collection of festive sweaters. I don't need to say that twice. So you'll notice in the A choice, I just simply added a semicolon. And in the B choice, I just changed it to a comma conjunction. Those can't possibly be the best ways of combining the sentences. You'll notice that C and D are considerably shorter, so I'm going to lean towards those. And I noticed that in D, it says that Hunter finished the school year with a 16-day streak of festive sweaters and as a fashionista. Well, that's fine, but I realize that the fashionista is actually related to that. And so I don't think it's two different things. I want to connect them. That's why C is better, comma, furthering the legitimacy of his reputation as a fashionista. Number six, it was high measurements of corn syrup, not love, that made Mrs. Lynch's fruit cake so tasty and gave her first period students uncontrollable shakes. Remember when we have a parenthetical interrupter, like with a negative, like a not love? We want to make sure we put commas on both sides, and that's why D is the right choice. Number seven, with the catchy lyrics still playing in her ears, Natalie finds the new Lil Wayne rap song to be annoying, but strangely addicting. I realize I should probably put a comma after the word ears. I need to fix that. But I also see that I have a comma and a dash. You'll never have both. It's either one or the other. And I also know I can have a dash and, but you can't have a dash but. So therefore, I'm not going to have this dash but, and I'm not going to have a semicolon but or a comma dash. But here's this lovely dash and that's a great choice. Number eight, we were well stocked for the sleepover party with 8 gallons of Rocky Road and pistachio ice cream in the freezer. We talked about ellipticals with numbers, and we have to be careful because when I say 8 gallons of Rocky Road and pistachio, I can't tell whether I have 8 gallons of each or 8 total. So I want to find an answer which clarifies that. So D doesn't clarify that. It just simply says pistachio ice cream and 8 gallons of Rocky Road. But B and C both add up to 8. I could either say 8 gallons of ice cream or 4 gallons of each. The problem with the C choice is I don't like the fact that it has Rocky Road and pistachio out here. Plus, it doesn't have a comma to get us back into the regular sentence. That's why I think B is a better choice, with 4 gallons of Rocky Road and 4 gallons of pistachio ice cream. Mathematically, it makes sense. Once again, a lot of times people like choosing C, but think about it logically. It says 8 gallons of ice cream, Rocky Road and pistachio, which once again, you can't tell whether you're combining those two flavors. And when you put it back into the sentence, you had this interrupter comma here, but I didn't have one after pistachio. Another reason why I wouldn't choose C. Number 9, to be honest, there's really is very little that is athletic about driving cars. Gosh, is that true? So it says to be honest, and then there's a colon, but we know in front of the colon it has to be a full sentence. So I'm going to say, let me be honest. And then I'm going to capitalize that T in there as well. Number 10, Amish Jake's all-inclusive shotgun wedding reception and honeymoon planning, trademark business, has rave reviews on Google for being affordable, reliable, and trustworthy. Well, this is very common in the SAT, maybe not Amish Jake, but I would normally put a comma after the word reliable because this is a list. And so that makes that incorrect. When I look down here, it wasn't one of the choices. So I realized they're giving you something different. B looks like it wants to be a polysyndeton, but once again, you don't have commas in a polysyndeton. So that's why C is the best choice, because I have an asyndeton, affordable, reliable, trustworthy, which gives the impression that the list continues on. Number 11, Cyan was caught using the glue stick as chapstick and Sharpies as eyebrow pencils. Hence, we may use only glue bottles and black crayons in Mr. Marsh's class. Classic semicolon sandwich. I'm going to put a semicolon, the transitional word, and then the comma in order for that to be correct. B looks so tempting, except the H would have to be capitalized, just to throw it out there for you. And the D choice, the H had to be lowercase after the dash. Number 12, running late for his ride to school, dash. Eric had no time for his mom to make pancakes and just took a mug of batter on the go. All right. So I have in front of this dash an incomplete thought. It has to be a full sentence in front of the dash. So when I look at it, I'm like, okay, which one's it going to be? Well, it's got to be B or C, but I don't want to capitalize the H in he, because now if I say Eric was running late for his ride to school, dash, lowercase h. Last page, number 13. Until her doctor's excuse prescribed no tests for Hannah, she performed an interpretive dance of the unit's essential concepts on TikTok for her grade. Well, this is all about subordination. I don't think it's until her doctor's excuse prescribed it, but I think it's because she's not able to take regular tests, she gets to do this dance for us, which sounds really cool. Number 14, which is not an acceptable way to combine them. So be careful these on the SAT as well as on our quiz. If you go too quickly, you might choose an answer which is our correct way of combining it, and I'm looking for the one that's not correct. So I look at the original sentence, which says, the closure of restaurants put a damp on Mr. Marsh's Christmas Eve plans. He loves to gorge himself on Chinese food at Manor Buffet and then fall into a food coma until well past midnight. Well, I certainly could use a period to join those have two separate sentences. And if you look at my choices, I can do a colon with a capitalized letter, a dash with a lowercase letter, or a comma conjunction. I just simply can't use a semicolon with a capitalized letter. A. Number 15, Eli's video gaming training made his thumbs muscular, yet numb. He struggled to open his container of peaches at lunch. Well, in this case, the dash is joining two full sentences together, and that's correct. I'm going to keep it lowercase. If I look at the other choices, C has it capitalized, and D, I'm not sure what in the world's going on with D, but there are dashes all over the place. And then B tries to put this little comma with the word yet. No. Number 16, Whitney oftentimes looks around the room and wonders why she took this stupid class, which is so much harder than creative writing, how diagramming will ever be useful to her, and what other Marsh classes she can take. Whitney knows that I'm going to give her a sentence where I'm listing really clunky things that are going to take semicolons instead of commas. And that's what's happening here. Her first item is why she took this stupid class, which is so much harder than creative writing. And that's the first item. The second item is how diagramming will ever be useful to her. Second item. And her third item is what other Marsh classes she can take. If you want to get technical, they're all noun clauses. But you'll notice that item number 1 has an interior comma. And for that reason, these exterior commas have to be semicolons. And that's why we have semicolons in the C choice. Number 17, there were many things, watching paint dry, going to the dentist, giving yourself a lobotomy, that are better than tuning into a NASCAR race. Well, this is one of those interrupters, and we talked about how we can use a dash to kind of highlight something. You can also use parentheses to kind of downplay something. The problem of C is I wouldn't do parentheses and commas, and that's why the B choice is better. I like the dashes on both sides. Draw your attention to D. It's very common on the SAT to do a dash on one side and a comma on the other side. That doesn't make any sense. And lastly, number 18, as Alani listened to her date ramble on about his rock hard abs and diet of protein powder shakes, her varied thoughts could be summarized as this: if I stab myself with this fork, I could get out of this date. True dat. All right, in this case, we have a lovely colon, and so I want to make sure I join it to something afterward. And if it's a full sentence, as it is in this case, we're going to capitalize that I in if. And so the D choice, which is grammatically correct to use that semicolon, it doesn't make a lot of sense because I can naturally feel that this sentence is then leading me into or anticipating an explanation. That's why B is the best choice.